In this module, we will be looking at basic networking definitions. The module objective is to be able to identify networking definitions such as TCP/IP, IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DHCP, DNS, Tcp and Udp ports, and Vlan. TCP/IP stands for Transmission Control Protocol Internet Protocol. This is the basic language of the Internet. Protocols are a set of rules for communication. The TCP/IP model is a collection of suites. IP is a protocol that sends and receives messages. TCP is a protocol that exchanges data. Other protocols fall under this model. One of the layers is application layer. This allows computer programs to talk to the network. One example is HTTP, which stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This protocol allows connection between a web server and a client. Another example is an FTP server. This protocol is a file transfer protocol that sends files through the network. Another layer is the transport layer. This transfers data between two devices. This is considered reliable since it verifies data that was sent. Multiplexing features are also available, which allow for consolidating data from multiple applications being sent to one user and vice versa. There's also flow control capabilities. This allows for managing data traffic and prevents buffer overflow. Buffer overflow is when more data than a device can handle at once. The next layer is Internet layer. This allows for global addressing. This is a standard for making a device uniquely identifiable. The Internet layer also has routing capabilities, where transferring data from one local device to an adjacent one. Internet Protocol version 4 is the fourth installment of the Internet Protocol. Internet Protocol version 4, or IPv4, is the current standard protocol. IPv6 will be the predecessor in the future. And last is the network access layer. This is where information is being sent and received across physical components. Ethernet is the standard cable to connect devices. 802.11a, b, g, and n are the standard frequency to send data wirelessly. An IP address is a number used to identify the logical connection of a computer to a network. Addresses are comprised of 32 bits, which make up 4 bytes. 1 byte equals 8 bits. This is a more friendly format than the binary numbers computers normally read. This also offers a logical address to your computer, similar to your house address. This is how a computer or device is registered with a specific network. A subnet is a logical division within the network. A subnet mask is the reserved bits of an address for the network. All hosts within a network share the same subnet mask, similar to a zip code in a neighborhood. Subnet mask can be classified into 3 categories. Class A, which is 255.0.0.0, where 8 bits are reserved. Class B, which is 255.255.0.0, is where 16 bits are reserved. And Class C, 255.255.255.0, is where 24 bits are reserved. The default gateway is an access point between a local subnet to another one. A router acts as the default gateway most of the time. When a device is sending data to a device outside its local network, that data is sent through the default gateway. The default gateway bridges the gap between the internet and a local subnet. The default gateway is usually the first host in a network. 198.168.3.1 is an example. Dhcp stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. This allows for allocating dynamic IP addresses to anyone on the network. When a new host is added to the network, Dhcp picks an IP address that is available out of the pool of IP addresses it has. The IP address can change if the device is removed and then brought back. The static IP address is where the user manually assigns IP addresses to all devices. Unless manually changed, the IP address stays the same. Pros and cons of Dhcp are follow. Dhcp saves lots of time. There's no need to manually reconfigure your devices. It is harder to troubleshoot with Dhcp though. It's harder to pinpoint when reviewing logs. There's also a higher risk for security vulnerability with Dhcp. Dhcp offers any device an IP address. Therefore, someone could infiltrate the network and observe classified information. This is called a man-in-the-middle attack. A DNS, or stands for a Domain Name System, is a more human-friendly naming system for websites. A DNS server translates domain names into IP addresses. www.yahoo.com would be converted to 69.147.76.15. 4.2.2.2 is the standard DNS server for the Internet. Now we're going to TCP and UDP ports. When two devices are communicating through TCP IP, the two types of sessions that could be used are TCP and UDP. TCP is secure and makes sure the information was received. UDP is unsecure. It does not check if information was received. For every IP address, there are a set of logical ports that the device can use in order to send and receive information. There are a list of common ports designated for specific protocols. Port 80 is designated for HTTP and port 443 is for HTTPS. There is a separate list for common ports for UDP that are different from TCP. Understanding ports will be important when dealing with firewalls, access control lists, and NAT in later modules. A VLAN, or a Virtual Local Area Network, is a logical group of workstation servers and network devices that appear on the same LAN despite their geographical distribution. This allows a network of computers and users to communicate in a simulated environment as if they exist in a single LAN and are sharing a single broadcast and multicast domain. Some advantages of VLAN is the reduce of overall traffic of communication between devices. Lower traffic means increased performance. There is also a flexibility in organizing different subgroups of users. This allows for better privacy and security between different users. For example, the CEO's data is separate from the desk clerk. A VLAN could be created to make 4 subnets on one switch rather than buying 4 switches. This reduces the cost on network production. In summary, TCP/IP is a set of protocols to use on the Internet. IP address is a unique identifier for a host on a network. Subnet Mask contains reserved bits that a set of hosts share. Default gateway is a cross-point between a local network and another network. Dhcp is an automation system that generates and manages IP addresses. DNS is a naming system for domain names and IP addresses. TCP and UDP ports are logical ports on a device that initiate various protocols through TCP/IP. VLAN is a virtual separation of subnets within a network. This concludes the module, and I hope this has been helpful.